Accessibility Association Committee, I will hereby call the meeting together. Take a minute and acknowledge that we are on unceded Mi'kmaq land. And Sherry, you have record of attendance, correct? Okay. Does anyone have any conflict with what we're looking at tonight? We are greeted with a presentation tonight from all the way from Halifax, are you not? Yeah. I've got to be honest, I'm excited to hear what you're going to say. I've gone through your website and I'm really looking forward to seeing it. You've back when we started this, I think your website or your information was one of the first that I seen, and it was really interesting. Just to carry on with the agenda, I don't want to go too much out of order here, but yeah, like I said, I'm a little excited about hearing what they have to say. I would like to ask for the approval of the minutes as they are stated. Would someone like to add to the minutes? Or is there anything else you'd like to discuss tonight? Mike's going through the capital budget. So can I get a, yes, Sherry?
There's also the declaration of conflicts of interest and the approval of the agenda.
Yeah, I was getting there.
Okay. On track.
No problem. If anyone has a conflict with anything that we're going to talk about tonight, please tell us at that time, and we will look at what procedures we need to go through at that time for your conflict. Reading through the agenda, can I get someone to approve the agenda as it is stated? I have Derek for one. Can I get a second? I have Gail for a second. Moving on. Approval of the minutes. Did everybody get a copy of March 8th minutes? Anybody? Peter, you didn't get a copy? Okay. If we can
I didn't seem to get anything for some reason.
Oh. Okay. I'll make note of that, look into it. Thank you. Make sure you do get a copy of it. I'll try. Approval of the minutes from the last meeting, March 8th. Can I have a primary on that one? I have Derek for one. And Gail for the second. Okay. Now we're going to move into the presentation. Like I've already said, I'm very excited to hear about tonight. This will be our public input session for tonight, simply for the sake of time and everything else. So tell us about Peach.
Thank you. Thanks for having us here today. My name is Kate Clark, and I'm here with Makiko, who's also from Peach. I just actually wanted to start with a bit of an apology. I have a prior commitment that means I must leave at 6:40 today. So if the conversation's still going, Makiko will be able to remain for the whole time, and you can keep talking to her. So I'm sorry that we're a little short on time that way, or I am. But we do have a slide presentation to kind of accompany our presentation to you today. And that could go 5 to 10 minutes, maybe. But I'll let Makiko maybe introduce herself now too.
Hi. So maybe we'll just introduce ourselves. So Kate is the project coordinator for Peach. Peach stands for Planning for Equity, Accessibility, and Community Health. It took us a long time to come up with that acronym, but we like our Pete Research Unit. So we belong to a urban planning school at Dal, and we have been doing research around accessibility and built environment relationships. And we have a little bit of a proposal to talk to you today. So we have been, I really appreciate that the members of this committee have taken a look at our website, and we are having fun with doing research around the area of accessibility and accessibility design and planning issues. And I'm really happy to be here. So maybe I'll have Kate show the slides, and maybe Kate and I would talk about what we wanted to ask you today.
Yeah, so we went through the first few slides with that introduction. So I'll just breeze through those to the main point. So yeah, we are here to talk to you today to propose Yarmouth's participation in this pilot project that we have planned for this summer called the Rural Accessibility and Age-Friendly Infrastructure Assessment, or RAFIA for short. We like our acronyms, especially when the titles are such a mouthful. So the purpose of this project is to assess the extent to which public infrastructure is equipped to facilitate accessible and age-friendly communities in a rural context. And we'll do this using data on indicators from several categories, including community composition, availability of services and amenities, public infrastructure, and policy and programming. I included this because for this assessment, we'll be inventorying a lot of information about certain infrastructures, including their location, their quality, the quantity of them, which is then used to perform a community-wide analysis. So the map that I'm showing here is from a similar inventory that our team conducted in Halifax Regional Municipality, where for this specific map, we processed data on curb cut quality, performing a sample assessment of communities and assessing the quality of their curb cuts, which is then portrayed here per neighborhood. And this can be really important information to inform future improvements for curb cuts and which communities should be prioritized. Makiko, do you want to talk a bit about just neighborhood level versus street level indicators? Oh, I think you're muted.
Sorry. So what we are really shooting for is that, as there are a few things to assess our built environment, like building codes and design standards and those things. And, the persons with lived experience and expertise know that it's far from enough. And those standards and design guidelines tend to only look at an entrance or ramp or crosswalk at a time, and they often do not really comprehensively look at the accessibility and the age friendliness of communities. So what we are trying to do is to create a more robust kind of set of indicators that can be used to assess the baseline and accessibility and age friendliness level at the municipalities, and then the municipalities can monitor the progress and also the accomplishments of how much improvement they have made from the baseline. And and now that all the municipalities in Nova Scotia have mandated to create the accessibility plan, you already have it, I believe. And but if we don't have the data that it's locally collected and compiled to really demonstrate the improvement and where the gaps are down the road, it's very difficult to really convince that the municipal planners or council members to really invest on the right things, that when we say the infrastructure, that could be, the street infrastructures to public buildings to even social programs and those things that are anything and everything that are, that are contained in the communities that can be good for accessibility. And it's not just about, the entrance needs to be this wide and not this wide. It's also important, but it's a little bit wider level of inventorying it will be necessary so that each municipality can monitor their own progress. And we have been speaking to a few municipalities in Nova Scotia to do this and collect data for each of the municipalities and create a database that each municipalities and community members can use. So that is kind of the idea we are having. And this summer we are going to conduct a pilot project, and we were hoping that you'd be interested in doing this project with us.
Yeah. So the intention of these slides were just to give you an idea of what scale we're talking about. So this neighborhood level indicators, like Mikiko said, are kind of the broader scale, the composition of a community, the walkability of the street grid, land use distribution, those kind of things. And we also are interested in a little more minutia on, the quality of streets and parks and other pedestrian walkways, how well lit spaces are, because all of those things factor into how accessible a community is for individuals. So the process of what this actually looks like for this summer, the first step is for our own team to do our kind of background gathering of secondary data. But then step 2 is the really exciting bit where we're hoping to come visit Yarmouth and hold a consultation session with community members to get their local insight on what is accessible and what is inaccessible in Yarmouth, and develop those indicators with local expertise in mind. So that would be kind of a one-day event where we would invite people with lived experience of disability and older adults to participate, and we're also planning to compensate experts for their time as well, spent at this consultation session. And then, of course, our researchers would gather the data on those indicators that are developed through that consultation, map the results, and we would want to share the results with you as well as the Yarmouth municipality. So yeah, in summary, as Mikiko and I've said, we're here mostly to ask for your support for the project, your assistance maybe with getting the word out about a consultation session, and your advice on what indicators are most important to include within the context of Yarmouth. But that final point maybe will be a follow-up where we don't have to put you on the spot right now.
Yes, so the final point is really the advice on what kind of indicators will be useful for you is really what we want to discuss at the consultation session. So so that's the activity we are hoping to have with the experts in Yarmouth. Do you have any questions?
There's one question I'm going to ask just before I forget. Can you hear me? I'm just checking my mic here. You said something about the timeline from Crosswalks. You said something in your presentation about the timeline for Crosswalks. Do you recommend a longer time than what is standard?
Yeah, I listed the length of time to cross at a crossing because yes, that's something that's often overlooked, and there isn't a lot of standardization right now.
Yeah. And I was wondering myself. Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm. So that's the kind of thing that.
Sorry.
Sorry, that's the kind of thing we would like to hear. And if you feel that Peach, Peach should, to really measure the time of, crossing on the street. That's what we are going to do this summer.
Yep. We had an individual who was having issues with the same thing. And I wasn't aware, I'm not exactly sure where to go to look to see what the standard was, but I did find myself as a walker that the standard between lights, there just doesn't seem to be one. And a longer one in certain situations would definitely be recommended. Thank you for your presentation. I do truly look forward to seeing Yarmouth participate in helping you, or you helping us even, in looking at what the standards are going to be and looking at what, how to measure our success, I guess is the best way to put it. I like that. And I look forward to that meeting. My CEO is not here tonight. She's out sick and she will have more to add to that. So before we're not going to say too much, because as far as setting up dates or anything like that goes, but we will definitely be in touch and she will be in touch. So I look forward to it. Anybody else got questions, thoughts, concerns? If you haven't looked at the Peachtree website, I would encourage every one of our members to go and look. Like I said before, it was the first thing I looked at after we started back last January, and it's really informative. Really, really informative.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's really great to hear. Thanks for having us.
Sometimes as well, silence is a good thing. Your presentation was really good. So my voice is
Okay.
bad. But silence is not a bad thing sometimes, because I think it covered a lot of things that we wanted to hear. So, yeah.
Okay, that sounds
That's
great.
great.
And if you have any question, if you like to send us any comments, please do so anytime. And we're happy to get reconnected, and hopefully we can do this consultation process with you this summer when it's convenient for you.
Great.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, if Mike can pull the agenda back up, we'll proceed. I believe the next thing was a report from me as far as chair goes. I can tell you that this week we've met with a lot of people after our planning came out. It came out on December the 25th, or December 25th. Thinking Christmas here. On March 25th, which actually happened to be my birthday, so it was a great birthday present to see a year's worth of hard work. It launched. After that come out, there was a lot of requests for interviews. We did an interview with Eastlake, CBC, another one with the Vanguard. I believe the Vanguard and the CBC are both out. Eastlink is still in the process of editing their stuff. And that will be coming out. That'll be interesting. When I have more dates on the release, I'll make sure everybody knows that. But right now, I'm not exactly sure what date they're going to release that. I've also met with some other individuals that were complaining about access to or not public buildings, but to commercial buildings. I'm not sure what we can do about that, and I didn't, to be honest, didn't really think that some of their, I can't really name here for confidentiality issues, but didn't really think that it was valid, because I do believe they meet what is considered the standard. Whether the standard is good enough or not, that's not for us to decide, but currently do feel that their doorways, their walkways and whatnot do meet the CSA standards. I will be talking to Francois just to say that these people complained about these doorways. And it'll be up to him to follow up, but I don't, as I said, I don't think there's any real issue here. Also, what else happened? We will, oh, yes, as Natalie mentioned, Natalie and I were talking about before, we will be putting together an absentee part in our policy. As we all know, we've had members that have been hit and miss, and I apologize that it's come to this, but I'm not so sure what else to do. It's not fair to other members to be meeting regularly, weekly after weekly after weekly, and others to be absent. The committee needs a full quorum, and we almost didn't make it tonight when we meet. So with Natalie's help, we will be suggesting that counselors bring forth a meeting absentee policy, something, and this is just off the top of my head. If you're not around for a couple of meetings, you will be asked to resign. Yep, he's got that here. Natalie, we're talking about that. We're going to move into that article here in a minute. I don't know if she pulled something up. Also, as part of the accessibility policy committee set by the town, we are due for elections again. And I believe that is going to happen within the next couple of meetings. So stay tuned for that. Moving on. That's all I have for the chair. If Mike can bring up the workplace delivery plans. Can somebody read that before I lose my voice tonight?
Yeah, I'll go do it. Natalie just mentioned quickly in her email that she sent at about 5:30 that if anybody has any questions on any of these items, they can email her. She didn't really brief me on anything. She wasn't expecting to miss this meeting, so it's pretty straightforward, as you can see, with all the items that are in here. These are relatively, I should say, these are not new items per se. We've seen most of these before, so should be familiar with most of them. So if anybody has any questions, you can send them to Natalie, and she'll be happy to answer them. That's where she is right now.
Okay. So we'll go back an issue here. Back a screen, and we're going to come up with communication updates. Mike.
That's me. I'm just gonna stop screen sharing for 1 minute so I don't have to show my ugly notes to you guys. So just a quick update from my perspective. So we as you mentioned, Stephen, the action plan went out and we actually submitted to the directorate. My press release on the approval of the action plan was sent out on the 28th, on the Monday. So that release was printed in the Vanguard the following Wednesday. That story was in the Vanguard and it was covered by CGLS. So I'm just giving you an idea of the coverage we got. You already spoke to an interview that you have done with Eastlink, and I think there was one that you did with CBC. We did social media posts. I'll do some more to promote the action plan just to draw more attention to it so people know where it is and where they can access it, just as a reminder. But we did some social media with a thank you to everyone who participated in the survey and in the virtual conference. And the post also contained links on how to access the action plan on our Get Involved site and in PDF format, and to obtain paper copies at Town Hall if they needed it. We did a thank you ad with the same sort of content in the Vanguard. We sent out a thank you email to the people who signed up for the virtual conference. So we had an email list of those individuals that helped us there, and we sent out a thank you to them with instructions on how to access the plan. And Stephen and Natalie did an interview with Brandon Young from the Southwest Wire not too long ago, I think a couple of weeks ago, and that article is supposed to be printed tomorrow in the Southwest Wire. So once I get in the office tomorrow, I'll pull that up and send it around to everybody for a look. And Brandon's a good journalist, so I expect that to be a great article. So that's just a quick update on some of the things that we did to promote the action plan, and we'll do some more with social media and just remind people where to find it. That's it for me.
Gail, you have a question?
Just a couple of comments.
Okay.
Begin with, once the action plan was submitted, I received a Sunday afternoon call from CBC. I think it was an online story that was going online, not a mainstream media one. But anyway, I did respond to some questions from CBC because their deadline was 2:45, and by the time I got the message, I think they tried others, and by the time I got the message, it was 2:35. So not trying to
That's
steal
right.
anybody's thunder, but I did answer some questions for them. Having said that, once the media coverage was out there, I've had some really interesting conversations from people based on what they understood from the media releases and from the conversation. And a couple of things became fairly obvious to me. One is that a repetitive message that I heard was that there's not enough public washrooms, particularly after hours in the downtown of Yarmouth or in Yarmouth anywhere. So I think we're all aware of that, and all I could do is reinforce that we are aware of that. But secondly, there was some discussion about the accessibility in private buildings and offices. And I don't think that people are fully aware of what our mandate, the limitations of our mandate, I guess, that we're basically talking about, publicly owned facilities and services. And so, it was even suggested to me by one community activist who I admire greatly, who said that, maybe we should build a building that's fully accessible and rent the offices out. And I think that's a little bit of a pipe dream. I think that might be cost prohibitive, but they, because there's a couple of services that this person accesses on a regular basis as a volunteer that are definitely not accessible. One's at a downtown location on a second or third floor, and there's no elevator, and the stairs are pretty are not user friendly at all. So I just think we should be totally aware all the time of the fact that people believe that our mandate is stronger and greater than it actually is. And we have to make sure that although we encourage, and I know we did this through the facade program for years, whenever there was a modifications to a building, we always encourage them to make it accessible. And some of the business owners downtown did exactly that. They improved the accessibility of their businesses, but it was fully through their own cooperation and at their own expense. So it wasn't a cost shared through the facade program. Although we did encourage it, and since some progress was made, it wasn't within our mandate there either. So I just think we should be aware of that and be aware of the fact that some of the public is not fully understanding of our mandate and the limitations. Anyway, thank you.
Just to add to what Gail said, it's funny because I've had the very same conversations this week, definitely with other people, that the public is not aware. Sorry? The public is not aware of the fact that what our mandate is, and the fact that there's not exactly a whole lot we can do. We can educate, we can talk to, we can support businesses when it comes to supporting and changing and updating their accessibility. But our mandate is really about the public buildings, the government buildings, stuff like that. I had the same conversations this week, Gail, and I'm interesting to see that maybe this group wants to down the road look at the possibility of educating the public as well as town businesses with regards to what can be done, what the grants are out there, what the standards are, and how we can help them, but also educate what our mandate is. I think our plan clearly shows what our mandate is, but maybe we can help educate the businesses. Yes, Gail.
Just as a follow-up, it was suggested, and I didn't think it was a terrible idea at the time. It was also suggested that if we're doing an audit of spaces, could we expand that service and offer it as a volunteer service to businesses that would be interested? And I didn't offer an opinion on that at all. I wanted to digest the ramifications of that, how because it might be a lot of work.
Yeah,
but,
I'm
so
thinking.
I didn't,
Oh,
yeah, I didn't offer an opinion, although I did think it was an intriguing idea.
It is a great idea. You're right about the volume of work that would be involved. And I'm sure there'd be some financial aspects to it. But it is a great idea. We'll have to, I'm gonna say this, let's just put that down as, write that down as an idea for future discussion. Okay, Mike, can you once again bring back up the agenda? Okay, and Mike's done with communications. We're now looking at space audits update from Francois. Was he here tonight? I didn't have him up here. Is he here?
Yep. Good evening,
Okay.
everybody. Can you hear me? Thumbs up? Everybody's up? Perfect. So I'd like to start by saying a big thank you to a lot of members here. Believe it or not, we've got 8 outdoor spaces audits completed. So big thank you to Sherry, Peter, Tracy, Tanya in particular, but not necessarily, maybe I'm missing somebody out there. So just recently we delivered the final draft of the audit, the detailed audit report to Durham and his team at Mariners on Main. So we're looking at meeting at the end of before the end of the month, probably just after Easter, the Easter long weekend, so we can review some of the suggestions that were made there. So this is a third big audit. Also, we got to just to share a screen here. We just look at a list of the parks that still require an audit. So if I can just share my screen here and just show just a document that I have. This one here. Let me know when you see this little one there. So I'm looking at properties that we're looking at for volunteers to, if you feel that you have the time or the energy to do this. There's Gowdy, Playground, Havelock, Sprucewood, Heritage. I can send a list to the team members if they want to participate or they'd like to maybe pick one and we can get through. So on my side, stop sharing here. And so for the next audit that we're looking to do is either Public Works or the
Okay,
FCMP
maybe
office,
just,
and we'll-
yeah, send an update of what needs to be done. If you're interested in doing it, hit Francois back and we'll get her done.
So it's going really, really, really good. Just the fact that people are participating makes me very hopeful that we're going to be successful in this endeavor. So definitely for the next one, either Public Works or RCMP office. And I'll send the information to the members for the team for all the properties that need to be done. Any questions for me from the membership?
I don't have anybody to say thank you for all your hard work.
I'm happy to help.
Okay, if there's no questions, I'm going to move on. As we were already mentioned, discussion for revote for the chair and vice chair. These are annual. Oh yeah, Mike's pointing something out. I forgot. Are you? Yep. Discussion of member of attendance. We've talked about this before. There is not policy set just yet, but there needs to be, as far as attendance goes. It's really, I think I'm going to make some suggestions to Natalie, but it'll be Natalie that'll be recommending to town council to make the following changes. That if you're absent for so many consecutive meetings in a row, you will automatically be considered to render your resignation from the committee. As we mentioned before, it's not fair to those of us that are coming out week or month after month doing the meetings and then have others that are not here consistently we found out tonight that as I already mentioned, that we almost didn't have enough members to hold a meeting. We almost didn't have a quorum. That's happened a couple of times. So there will be recommendations made to council and adapted with regards to attendance, as far as that goes. Excuse me. Also, we will be looking at re-electing the chair and vice chair. It may be recommended at that time that maybe we could elect the chair every 2 years and the vice chair every 2 years or so, just so that we're not having to do this every year. There's been some discussion around that. I'm going to turn it over to Gail.
Sorry, Stephen, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to back up to the attendance policy, and I'm hopeful that because often these seem to be punitive in nature and not encouraging, and so I'm just hopeful that we'll have an opportunity to discuss that at the committee level prior to any recommendations being made to council.
I'm sorry that it had to come to this. I don't know. I was talking with Natalie. I'm not aware that there are any other committees or what a policy will actually look like or what the wording will actually look like. But I think we all know why it needs to happen. We need to have a full council. We're only 9 members representing the entire town of Yarmouth. And when we sit down to meet, it needs to be a full group, not just enough for a quorum.
Yes, and while I understand that, I just think it's there should be language in there, I think, that is a little bit forgiving, and that if somebody has legitimate excuse for not being in attendance at a meeting, that shouldn't count as it should somehow be taken into consideration in the count.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. That's why I'm very hesitant.
Yeah, and I'd like to see the policy reflect that.
Very hesitant to make any major announcement tonight because as I said, I don't know exactly 100% what the wording will look like. I'm just giving a heads up more or less that this is what's going to happen because it needs to happen. As far as the wording goes, yeah, I look forward to seeing that too and how it's going to come down. But this will once again be another meeting elsewhere. So we're also.
Excuse me, Mr.
Anybody
Chair.
else going to say about that? Sherry?
I was just going to say, yeah, I suggest that we come back to this issue at the next meeting because I know that Natalie did some work behind the scenes. I'm not sure exactly kind of what she had, and she was hoping to be here tonight. So I think that would be some helpful input too. But I agree as well with what Gil said.
Absolutely. Yep, that was my plan anyway, to leave that for her. We also talked about, can I move away from that subject now? Is everybody comfortable with that? Has everybody got anything else to say on that before I move on? Okay. As we read, as I was also mentioning, that the discussion of nominations of chair and vice chair, basically, I believe that Natalie will be taking care of that next meeting. We will be looking at once again voting for chair and vice chair, because according to our policy, it is annual and we're a little behind. So we're going to do that next meeting. I don't know where that involves Sherry. Does anybody have that policy, or do you know, Sherry, if that includes secretary?
I don't have it right in front of me. I don't think it does. I think that was just for the chair and vice chair, but I could be. But I can have that for next time.
Okay. So elections, next meeting. Thoughts, concerns, questions, ideas? No? Okay, do we have any additions to tonight's meeting? We are running a little light here. No additions? Okay, Sherry, do you have the date for the next meeting?
I do. It is Tuesday, May 10th.
May 10th? Okay.
Do we want to do 6 o'clock again? I can't remember if we agreed that that would be our set time. I'm getting a thumbs up from Derek.
6 o'clock. Is 6 o'clock good for everybody? I gotta admit, tonight I was a little bit rushed.
And that's, those are sent out as a calendar invite, right? Pretty sure.
Judy sends those out, yeah.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Okay,
if-
May 10th.
Suggestion, blah, 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 May 10th, 6 o'clock.
May 10th, 6 o'clock. Okay. So because we're talking about attendance, I'm gonna say this. If for some reason you cannot make that meeting, because I know Sherry and Natalie are weekly, but the week before are essentially emailing like crazy, trying to confirm that everybody's going to be there. I will say that we will send out a generalized reminder email. Judy will send out a generalized calendar appointment. But if for some reason you cannot be at that meeting, please email Sherry and let her know. Okay?
Yes, that would be great. And can I also say that when you get the email from Judy, at the top there are 3 like accept this meeting or something, and there's yes, no, or maybe. And if you can take the 2 seconds to do that, if you know that you'll be able to attend or not, then Judy and Natalie get those numbers so they kind of know who's planning to be there. So that's really helpful.
Okay. I'll say, no, I didn't know that. Anybody else have any thoughts or concerns? We're at the end, so I'm just going to open it up a little bit. Ideas, thoughts? Okay. Perfect. Derek, at the end of this, can I meet with you once the recorder is off? Just a little bit about something we talked about earlier. Okay, then that's all I have for tonight for the Yarmouth Association Accessibility Committee. I thank you all for coming. I thank you all for your hard work. Just to recap, please, if you can't be in the meeting on May 10th, email Sherry. Please reply to your calendar link from Judy. Please watch out for Francois's email with other pieces of property that need to be done. Remember to watch for articles that are coming out this week. If you have any questions, concerns, thoughts, ideas at any time, please reach out to either myself, Natalie, or whoever might be. And we'll be more than happy to take the time. That's all I've got. Thank you, guys.